Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a Death Guard video. So, they've been causing some trouble, haven't they? A little bit of chaos. Death Guard has been pretty strong, and most of it seems to stem from the fact that everybody would agree that they're a little too cheap. But as you can see, they've been doing that across the board for most detachments. Now, a thing that's usually handy to do is think about if the things that are currently too cheap or causing a bit of a problem get nerfed, what's the backup plan? And through all of this, I noticed that, yeah, the list typically had something like the vehicles, fetid bloat drones of both varieties, plague burst crawlers, mephitic blight haulers, all of that. Uh, that's what people are calling too cheap for the most part, right? Now, there's a couple other things like maybe Death Shroud, but it's mainly vehicle stuff. But going past that, I noticed that I didn't see two detachments. I haven't seen many results out of Deathlord's Chosen, which I can understand, and I haven't seen anybody talk about Tallyband summoners. Now, you'd go, well, yeah, if I'm playing Death Guard, I don't want to play Nurgle. That's fine, but I gotta give you all credit over the Death Guard camp. You all are, out of most of the Chaos factions, the ones I've always seen be a little bit more willing to dabble in taking the Nurgle Demon allies, or Demon allies, in your case, Nurgle. So I got to, just perusing Taliban summoners, and this is where I will be making a mountain out of a molehill. Taliban summoners means that while a Plague Legion unit from your army is within 7 inches of one or more Death Guard units from your army, that Plague Legion unit gains Nurgle's Gift ability. So you get to put out Contagion and get the auras afflicted, all that jazz, right? While a Death Guard unit from your army is within 7 inches of one or more Plague Legion units from your army, add 3 to the Death Guard unit's Contagion range. Cool. So, turn 1, that can go out to 6. Turn 2, that can go out to 9. Turn 3 onwards, every Plague Legion that is within 7, every Death Guard that is within 7 inches of a Plague Legion is putting out a foot of Contagion range. That's not the insane part to me. That's pretty nice, and then I think that if Morty had his old ability, that'd go what to 15 inches, so that would be pretty insane. The enhancements, whatever, but I guess we'll cover everything because again, I haven't seen anybody talk about Taliban summoners. So let's start off with Beckoning Blight. 20 points, Death Guard model only. Each time a Plague Legion unit from your army is set up on the battlefield using Deep Strike, if it is wholly within a foot of the bearer, it can be set up 6 inches away from all enemy units instead of 9. Cool. 6-inch Deep Strike. It's pretty neat. Fell Harvester, 10 points, Death Guard model only, add 2 to the attack characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons. That's a nice thing for 10 points. Entropic excuse me. 15 points, Great Unclean One only, in the Battle Shock step of your opponent's command phase. Each enemy unit within 6 inches of the bearer that is below its starting strength must take a Battle Shock test at -1. Pretty decent. And Tome of Bounteous Blessings. Oh goodness, I can't speak right now, unfortunately. 20 points. Malignant Plaguecaster. Each time a Plague Legion's unit within a foot of the bearer takes a Battle Shock test, add 1 to the test, and if that test is passed, one model in that unit regains up to D3 lost wounds. If that unit is battle line and the test is passed, up to D3 destroyed models can be returned instead. Cool. Uh, Hella situational for 20 points. Stratagems, Persistent Pest. Any phase after a Nurgling unit gets destroyed, you can make an identical one go in Strat Reserves at its starting strength for 1 command point. I believe this is still under the FAQ, the Balanced Data Slate ruling that you can only replace once per game, use any of those stratagems. But, honestly, I'm not entirely sure, and that's still not the broken part, but I'm pretty sure that you can't do that more than once. Fleshy Avalanche. They know what they're doing. Your movement phase or your charge phase. One Plague Legion's monster from your army that has not been selected to move or charge this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit makes a normal, advanced, or charge move, it can move horizontally through terrain features. This is good. I didn't really see this unless I completely blanked on the other equivalents from the Chaos Legions. Like, I'm not sure that Corrin Demon can has it, but if they do, let me know down below. I could check right now, but we got to get to the insane part. Insane to me. Clutching Corruption. Fight phase. One Death Guard unit from your army that has now been selected to fight this phase until the end of the turn. Each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets an enemy unit that is within engagement range of one or more Plague Legion units from your army, you can reroll the hit roll. That's cute and might come in handy every now and again. Avatars of Decay, your shooting phase. One Plague Legions unit from your army until the end of the phase. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of your unit, that enemy is afflicted. They know what they're doing. You'd probably have the same initial reaction that I did. I was like, well, if they're around Death Guard, they'll be afflicted anyway. Like, why do I need this? This is good for when you don't take Death Guard, actually. We'll talk about that. All is rot. Your shooting phase, one Plague Legion unit from your army that is within engagement range of one or more enemy units. Until the end of the phase, enemy units are not considered to be within engagement range of your unit for the purpose of selected targets of ranged weapons. Until the end of the phase, each time an enemy model loses a wound, while that model's unit is within engagement range of your unit, roll 1d6. On a 5 up, your unit suffers 1 mortal wound after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks. And then Meyer Slick. I always like those abilities that let you fire an engagement. That's cool. Meyer Slick. Your opponent's movement phase when an enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, is selected to fall back. One Plague Legion unit from your army that is within engagement range of that enemy unit until the end of the phase. While an enemy unit is within engagement range of your unit, each time that unit is selected to fall back, it must take a leadership test. If that test is failed, that unit must remain stationary this phase instead. Cute. So, what is the thing that I'm kind of freaking out about? I don't know about freaking out, but I will be doubling down on being a little bit insane. So, Mortarion can go in this detachment and be your warlord, which is fine. Morty, we know Morty is a brick shithouse at times. T12, 2 up save, 4 up invo, and 16 wounds, 5 up feel, no pain. Pretty cool. Inflamed Reprisal in your opponent's shooting phase. While a friendly Death Guard unit within 6 inches of this model is selected as the target of an attack, this model can use that ability. If it does, after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks, that Death Guard unit can shoot as if it were your shooting phase. But when resolving those attacks, it can only target that enemy unit, and only if it is an eligible target. Cool. Why do I point that one out? Because the other ones, to me, for what I'm thinking, are whatever. You get a fight on death or a reactive move. It's whatever. It does add some speed to Death Guard. That's cute. They need it. But that's not what we're focused on here. Because we're playing the detachment where you get the ally and demons, let's talk about one of those demons. Great Unclean Ones. 250 points. T12, 5 up save, 4 up invuln, 20 wounds, 6 up feel no pain, excuse me. Demon Lord of Nurgle. While a friendly Plague Legion unit is within 6 inches of this model, add 1 to the toughness characteristic of models in that unit. Nurgle's Rot. At the end of your movement phase, you can select 1 enemy unit within a foot of this model. Until the start of your next movement phase, that unit is rotted. While a unit is rotted, subtract 1 from the toughness characteristic of models in that unit. Okay, so check it out. First off, Great Unclean Ones go to T13. 4 up invuln, 20 wounds. 6 up feel no pain. Next, I could have sworn that Nurgle's Rot had visibility. But no. So that means you can Nurgle Rot a unit that is afflicted to make their toughness go down by 2. We already knew that was a thing possible, but I just saying I could have sworn that it had to do visibility. But did you know that you can fit 3 Great Unclean Ones and Mortarion in a list in Tallyband summoners at current points? So, 3 T13 4 up invuln, 20 wound monsters, Mortarion, and you actually have some more points left over that still allows you to fit Rodriguez, who again if next to one of them goes to T13. So while everybody's talking about the fact that you can possibly now fit six big knights, big chaos knights, you can fit four effectively T13, 4 up save, 20 plus wound models, and Tallyband Southerners, and then another T12. And you still have 620 points left over. Now, Rodigus, is pretty cool, but we're really here for the stat more so than anything, in my opinion, on this one. But people take Rodigus for Deluge of Nurgle. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model, subtract 2 from the move characteristic and 1 from the OC characteristic of models in that unit. That's pretty neat. Also has Virulent Blessing. At the start of the fight phase, you can select one enemy unit within 2 feet of and visible to this model. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack made by a Plague Legion's model is allocated to a model in that unit, add 1 to the damage characteristic of that attack. Alright. Also, because we're passing out Nurgle's Gift around here, if they're around Morty so far, they could be afflicted, so they could be -1 to hit. T13 things. They could have a worse save, so you're just popping things, or they could have Scabrous Soul Rot, which again worsens the move, leadership, and OC characteristic of models in that unit. Yeah, so again, with Mortarion, 3 Great Unclean Ones, and Rodigus, you have 620 points left over. Now, this is the point where you go, but who would do that? You still have to play the game. They all have Deep Strike, and it doesn't take you to be in your Shadow of Chaos or have something else to, take something out. But admittedly, that's to do it for 6 inches, okay? However, I would like to say we've seen people bring shit like that before. We've seen Demonic Incursion. That is just 6 greater demons, 6 or 7. We've seen, this has been a while, but we've seen Necrons do just Catan and Monoliths and Hypercrypt, okay? So, and they don't do the Deep Strike. They had to rely on the Hypercrypt part. So, I'm just saying, throw out some Poxwalkers for Infiltrate with somewhere in the 620 points that you have remaining somehow, and you can get them on the field in mission play between Scabrous Rot and Rodigus. They just might not have the OC with you beating their ass to do things. But beyond that, if it just ends up being a teams list, it could be a teams list where it's just like, all right, well, we need something really bulky. Past that, with the other 620 points, you could fit, a large squad of Deathshroud Terminators with a character. Deathshroud Terminators are T7, 2 up save, 4 up info, and 4 wounds. And while a character is leading this unit, that character model has a 4 up feel no pain. It's whatever. You could just not bring the character, and then you have 2 6-mans of Deathshroud Terminators. Death approaches in your movement phase when this unit is set up on the battlefield using Deep Strike. It can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 6 inches horizontally away from all afflicted enemy units and more than 9 inches horizontally away from all other enemy units. So again, if you can just spread the affliction even better, you can 6-inch Deep Strike Deathshroud Terminators. Again, I guess you don't need the character for just this profile. So 2 6-mans of Deathshroud Terminators and still having 20 points remaining somehow. You could put Death Kneel on the Great Unclean One. But, you also want to be able to punch. So I don't really think that Deathshroud Terminators might be the thing. But what if I told you could take 2 more T12 things? Because you're playing Death Guard, but also you're still Chaos Space Marines. You could fit 2 Chaos Land Raiders in here on top of that. Like, this is absurd to me. T12, 2 up save, 16 wounds, and with Soul Shatter Las Cannons, you at least have something to punch fellow heavy things. 48 inches, 2 attacks, heading on 3, strength 12, AP 3, damage D6 plus 1. And you'd go, yeah, but 12 wounds 12 on 4s. it's almost like you're playing Death Guard and have access to Great Unclean ones to reduce the toughness so that you are making anything that was T12, rest in peace, old Chaos Knight profile, uh, go down to something like T10. So now you're wounding it on threes. And still having points left over to bring something like, again, Poxwalkers for Infiltrate to screen out so you can actually land down. So I'm just saying, Taliban Summoners, that looks like a brick shit house. If people end up losing their Myphitic Blight Haulers, their Plague Burst Crawlers, and their Fetid Blight Drones, Bloat Drones, there we go. I remembered that. Uh, I don't want to see what people can do with Taliban Summoners and a brick shit house list. So yeah, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.